we saw a decline in tourism.
Yeah, everybody has. Interestingly, so what you walked in here first was an advertising agency. And an advertising agency, I met with your son about it. Advertising agencies do well in times of struggle.
Yeah.
Often because the business owner wants to change the conversation.
Yeah.
Where we don't do well is when the stock market's in the shitter. And I'm glued to this constantly.
Yeah.
Okay, full screen is up. Okay, so in 30 seconds we're gonna go live. I follow this constantly. I'm sure you do.
Well, actually, yeah, it's on my watch here. So.
All right, and Judah, you got it in public. Oh, excellent. So, guys, Al Schornberg is moments away. He is the CEO and owner of Keswick Vineyards. We're excited to have Al on the show. We have the full screen up, Al.
Okay.
And then he's going to count me down to when the full screen is off. Judah, you also have the volume on that. Wow, we already have people on the forecast. Jay Wyant, hello. Andrew Joyner, hello. Megan Walker, hello. James Sivley, hello. You're a popular dude here, Al. Uh-huh. Okay. Excellent, guys. Welcome to the I Love CVille show. It's a snowy Monday, but we made sure we got into our I Love CVille studios because Al Schornberg, our guest, the CEO and owner of Keswick Vineyards, he's got one of the best vineyards in the state of Virginia. I'm even going to get a little out there and say the East Coast, and I am so excited to welcome this man to the program. I'm excited to talk about his entrepreneurial journey. You know I love that stuff. As a family man myself, as a man who works with his wife, who has his son in the business all the time, I want to talk about that with Al, because that certainly has its great points. It also has its challenging moments as well. Let me pay the bills first. Camryn Limousine, Bill Kerr and Cheri Kerr at Camryn Limousine are a fantastic sponsor of this show, as is Greenberry's Coffee. For more than 25 years, Sean and Roxanne Simmons have opened a business, guys, in Charlottesville 25 years ago that has 32 locations worldwide. Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Japan, they're opening on the West Coast, and they started with a Honda Civic 25 years ago, a dream and some sweat equity. And I freaking love that story. On that note, let's welcome Al to the program. First we'll start by thanking you. I was talking about this off air with Judah. Judah Wickhauer behind the board, one of our producers here. You can tell a lot of the character of the man when there's snow in Charlottesville and he has a commitment the next day. And whether or not he's going to show up or not, I did not doubt for a single moment you were going to be here.
Yeah, well, the snow this early is incredible. I think officially they're saying 9 inches. I know my son measured 13 out where he is. I didn't bother measuring mine, but yeah, put you in the Christmas spirit.
Yeah, put you in the Christmas spirit. The man is a man of tremendous character, kind enough to join us and give us his most valuable resource, which is his time. A lot I want to cover, and if you have questions, there's a lot of people on the cast. Jump in and ask us questions, please. Start open-ended. 2000, you arrive here with the hopes and dreams of building a vineyard.
Correct.
Keswick Vineyards is one of the best. You've done this over
you.
18 years. What brought you to Charlottesville and Central Virginia?
Well, Cindy and I searched around the country about 5 years, really. Number of states, including our home state, Michigan. And it really came down, there was 2 places that really looked good to us, Healdsburg and Sonoma, and Charlottesville and Virginia. And what I liked about Virginia is the wine industry was experiencing a renaissance at that time. And as an entrepreneur, I found that to be a little bit more exciting than Healdsburg. Cindy, of course, was more focused on the infrastructure, healthcare, schools, things like that. So Charlottesville won out.
You're an entrepreneur, you're a businessman, you get into a new career path after a very accomplished business career. I don't think a lot of people know your accomplishments, your accolades, and what you have done. I am not trying to embarrass you. I'm trying to give you the props that you deserve here. Let's start first what you did before you got to Keswick, because I think that experience helps set the tone or give you the foundation to run a brand new business at the middle part of your life.
Yeah, well, I started a technology company in Michigan, Anatech, and it grew into a nationwide company. And it was pretty successful. We were helping Fortune 500 companies move off the mainframe to PCs. And, we were in the right place at the right time. And one day, Cindy and I were hunting in the Northwest Territories, had to come back early for a meeting, chartered a plane, ran into some trees on the top of a mountain, survived that. We shouldn't be here today. We really shouldn't. If you saw
Really?
pictures of the plane, it's incredible.
You and your wife?
Yes, Cindy and I. So we had about 20 minutes before we were able to land the craft using a door as a drag so that the pilot could steer the plane. And so a lot of thoughts went through my mind, and one of them was, well, first of all, I think it's time for Cindy to get pregnant.
How old are you guys?
This would have been in 1995, so I guess I would have been 45 at that point.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, 50. I don't know the math actually. I sold it. Okay, yes, 45.
Okay.
So we sold the technology company and decided, for some reason we lived. We didn't know why, but maybe what we should do is spend our time doing what we want to do instead of, chasing the rainbow, the financial rainbow, and living sort of a fast-paced life. So for some reason, we decided a winery would be an easier way, and that just goes to show how dumb an entrepreneur can be.
I knew you were going to say that.
Ignorance is bliss.
So a near-death experience.
Yeah.
Puts things in perspective for you.
Right.
You start devaluing materialism, wealth, and chasing the dream that I think is almost a cliche now in today's society. And then you start prioritizing family, your time, and experiences.
Right. And so that led to our searching for 5 years and ending up in Charlottesville, Keswick.
That's amazing. So 5-6 years, guys. Someone who I'm going to say it, he's not going to say it, he's a humble man. Somebody who is at the top of his profession, clicking on all cylinders, decides to do something completely different because of a near-death experience. For 5 or 6 years, does market research, chooses Keswick, and decides to open a vineyard here that has become an industry and market leader without question here. Why, Al, wine? Why a vineyard? You had money, you had experience, you could have done anything. Why a vineyard?
Why a vineyard? Well, I guess I always had a childhood dream. Well, first of all, I have Italian and French blood in me, and my grandfather actually worked in a winery in France. And so I always had this vision of, sitting under an olive tree, drinking some wine that I actually manufactured. And so this was a chance to do that, except for the olive trees. Olive trees don't do well here.
How does snow impact your vineyard? I mean, when you're an entrepreneur and you're running a tech company, there's a lot of things out of your control. The market could pivot, it can go a different direction, it could not need your technology, but I feel like when you're running in a tech company, you have a little bit more control on things. You're now running a business that's freaking so tied to Mother Nature that you have no control over this dude.
Right. People ask me that question a lot, and I mean, 2018 was a rough year with all the rain, I'll be honest with you, but I don't think the weather is the biggest challenge we've had in Albemarle over the years. Certainly is a big factor, but not the biggest.
What's the biggest challenge?
For a long time, it was county regulations. When we first bought here, I think they limited the size of your tasting room to, I don't know if it was 1,250 square feet or 1,500 square feet, but a fairly small tasting room. Now that's changed. When you open a winery here, I don't think there's a limit on the size of the tasting room. You could also only do 12 events a year. Jeez. And you could have no amplified music. So that kind of morphed into the regulations that we had until 2011, which was music could not be audible, which is pretty much the same as saying you can't have music.
Right. That's ridiculous. Yeah.
And it's very subjective. One person might hear it or say they can hear it, another person can't. So in 2011, we worked hard and got the ordinance changed.
Who's we?
Me, Cindy, me and Cindy, pretty much, working with the Board of Supervisors.
On behalf of wineries and vineyards in Central Virginia?
Right.
Wow.
To get the standard changed to a decibel reading. So something that could be measured.
Sure.
And
something tangible.
Something tangible.
Yeah.
And that solved a lot of problems, although we are dealing with an issue now with the winery, that even though they meet those standards, they're getting complaints from neighbors. So we're kind of working on how to solve that problem.
Is the crossroads with the Board of Supervisors in Albemarle County, we have to do well by the neighbors that are next to the vineyards and wineries and preserving their quality of life, but we also have to have the long-term vision and foresight that Al's business and vineyards and wineries are driving obscene amounts of tax revenue to the municipality, and without question are one of the reasons why Albemarle County is on the map.
Actually, Charlottesville is the #2 wedding destination on the East Coast.
Behind
Charlotte.
Behind Charlotte? Charleston.
Charleston. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Okay.
Yes, correct. So it's become a big industry here. It drives a lot of revenue, pays a lot of taxes. When we first started, there wasn't enough hotel space. You've had a lot of hotels spring up. So it's been a pretty good, and it preserves the land, which I think is in the interest of a lot of
Very good point.
folks.
You're saying it's not turned into, and I have no problem with Glenmore, but it's not turned into another Glenmore.
Exactly. It's not being developed, and I know you're in a real estate.
I love the real estate piece. Yeah.
But a lot of people in this area are interested in preserving the countryside.
Oh, absolutely.
So.
And I am too. I'm in favor of, and I love bantering with entrepreneurs like you, I'm in favor of strategic growth. Like, I don't want this to be Fredericksburg or Northern Virginia. I'm not in favor of taking fabulous properties like yours and making it single-family Glenmores. I'm in favor of showcasing them and then having properties like yours and businesses like yours be the reason why people to move here, and then maybe we build around it strategically.
Right. And if there's one complaint I have about the development so far is the infrastructure has not kept up.
Of course, the roads don't match the population.
No.
Yeah, especially where you're at.
Yeah, I mean, getting into town on 250 during rush hour it's not fun. It's like being in New York.
Well, frankly, and my wife and I live in Redfields now, and we have a young son. And like any family with a young family that's looking to grow, we're thinking about bigger places now. And one of the places that we have considered was Glenmore, because the inventory is priced well, because so many people are enchanted and romanticized by new construction. They don't see this fabulous quality construction with a good neighborhood, and the price points are lower because of it. But where I'm going with this, one of the things my wife has said is, but Jerry, what about 9 a.m. when you have to come down Pantops? Or what about 6:30 or 7 when you're coming home to put Trey and give him a bath and get to bed? That could take you half an hour.
Yeah. And I mean, you talk about Glenmore. I think, you get the biggest bang for your buck. Beautiful development. They've done a great job.
I really do think that.
Yeah.
Do you really think that?
I really do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm amazed, really. It's sometimes you look at these houses and you're saying, wow, that's like half price.
Right.
So it's very attractive. But we need to do some work on infrastructure.
Guys, Al's our guest. He's the CEO and owner of Keswick Vineyards. A lot I want to cover here. Let's talk about the journey. You started in 2000 at Keswick. How do you start a vineyard? How does a couple come to a state that they know nothing about, in a field that they know nothing about? You're willing to work. You have the resources. You're willing to get out there and do a lot of it yourself. But how do you even start this?
Well, it starts with a vision and a dream, and for us, it was on-the-job training. As I said earlier, ignorance is bliss. I thought I was getting into a business that would be pretty easy, a great lifestyle. I had no idea how difficult it can be and all the variations, all the variables. But we're starting to get the hang of it now, 18 years later.
Put it in perspective. Give us one story, like a microcosm, a small piece that we can be like, wow, that was hard.
Well, when I first started, you know, we had a little bit of luck on the way. Our very first vintage, 2002 V&A, won best white wine in the USA.
At an Atlanta competition.
Exactly.
I did a little research for you.
Okay. Yeah, you probably remember more than I do. But so I thought, you know, hey, we're off to a great start. Let's build a formula here. Let's just keep doing this over and over again. Well, Virginia doesn't work that way. Every year's different. And I guess it would be like playing baseball. You have to play the ball where it lands. And I don't think I've seen two identical years in the 18 years that we've been doing this. So, so I guess that's where the art comes in, and it's not as much science. Well, that's not true. It's not as it's not like computers where you can write a program and just repeat it over and over and over.
You have to adapt, and you have to pivot, and you have to be nimble.
Exactly.
And you've done that, I think, you've done that because you're a man of vision, your family's helping you run the business, but I feel like you have a really, really strong winemaker and vineyard manager there.
We do. Stephen Barnard is my son-in-law.
I did not know that.
Yeah. See? You can
Okay, I should have done a little more research. I'm sorry, I take that back. No, I should have known that because I'm looking at my post and I tagged someone with that last name in it, which is it your daughter? Yeah, obviously it's your daughter, it's his son-in-law. Okay, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
Yeah, so he's a terrific winemaker, originally from South Africa, and he came to us through a program at Ohio State. Buckeyes, that's the only negative,
Because you're a Wolverine?
I'm a Wolverine,
okay.
and
educated too? Educated in Michigan?
No. I didn't even go to school there. I just grew up there. Actually,
Okay.
I went to school at American University.
Okay.
But Stephen didn't go to school at Ohio State either, so it's kind of so we can live together, I guess, because of that. But he's a terrific winemaker. He knows the land. He knows the vineyard. He knows how to handle a lot of variations. So, we've been very successful.
So Kat, your daughter.
Yes.
They fell in love while he was working at your vineyard?
Correct.
That is awesome.
She's a scientist.
Okay.
She has a PhD in microbiology. And actually, Cindy kind of played the role as a matchmaker.
Matchmaker.
Yeah.
I bet she would be good at that.
And evidently she is. Well, you know how she does the weddings, but...
Fantastic.
They fell in love and got married and have a granddaughter, Aria. It was her birthday on the 5th. We were supposed to celebrate last night, but obviously that got snowed out.
Mm-hmm.
But a beautiful girl. And my other daughter, Chris, who did work at the winery for quite a while, she has a daughter, Tigger, and so I've been blessed with those two.
How did Dad, who happens to be also owner and CEO, respond to one of his key employees potentially falling in love with his daughter? Was that a sticky situation or no?
It was a sticky situation.
Yeah.
I wasn't thrilled with it, and like I said, he was a Buckeye, so it was kind of tough. But we got through it.
There you go. Now, how about the family business side here? My wife is in the business. I can't run. She's watching now. Michael Guthrie's watching. We have a lot of people on the cast. John Dallas Campbell, thank you for joining us. Peyton Alley, Constance Wyatt, Tracy Lynn Rifle, Ray Cadell, Nina DeMarco Finazzo, Anja, thank you for joining us. We appreciate your support. My wife, who's also joining us here, she is a critical component to this business. Mm-hmm. I cannot run the two businesses we're doing, which is an ad agency and this real estate company, without her. She handles the receivables, the payables, and all the minutia that I frankly am terrible at. The fine details is not my strength. My strength is the negotiation, the vision, dictating
Correct.
the pace and tempo.
Yeah.
How have you managed the family side with the business? It's been challenging for me.
Well, It's definitely a different dynamic than say your normal corporate structure or business you would run.
Because you guys go home together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're really working 24/7. But fortunately for me, Cindy is very detail oriented, and I'm kind of more of a big picture guy. So we can work together pretty well without stepping on our toes too much.
My hardest part is turning it off when I get home, because this business is my child. I literally say, this business is my firstborn, Trey is my secondborn. I nurture this like a child.
Right.
And I can't turn it off when I get home. And she's
Yeah.
like, dude, we're at dinner. We just gave our kid a bath.
Yeah.
Can you stop?
Yeah. It's actually almost a reverse role for us. We can't turn it off either. But at 5 o'clock, I try and make it a rule. Let's not do business. But like I said, we can't turn it off, and Cindy's the one that will continually bring up issues and problems we need to solve, and ideas and things like that. So she has 2 speeds, all out, full speed ahead, and then off. And the off would be, I guess, when she's sleeping. But even then, she's probably dreaming of things she needs to do.
So she's entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Cindy is his very beautiful, very intelligent wife, his partner over at Keswick Vineyards. And when I go to the weddings at your venue, I mean, I'm talking, they are like the best, like design and like look. I mean, you go in there and you're like, someone has some vision and some champagne taste, and someone knows what is up when they're designing this setup. Is that Cindy?
That's Cindy. That's 100% Cindy. I did the design of the sound system, but everything else is her, and she's very hands-on, and she tries to make sure that every wedding is perfect.
And you guys really open up the space. I mean, in some ways, I mean, is it intrusive for you? Was it intrusive in the beginning? I mean, you have 200 potential guests. I think 200 may be the limit at your venue.
It is.
Yeah, 180 to 200, 150 people walking around your property. I mean, in your pool house, chilling around your pool, around your lawn, driving by your garage and seeing your cool cars. I mean, did you feel like, oh my God, do I really have to get this revenue here?
Well, probably initially I felt that way, and I used to actually attend a lot of the weddings in the beginning, but now I've actually purchased a man cave, I call it, a unit in Cascadia. So if I need to get away, I can.
That's awesome. That's very cool. I mean, and one of the things that I've noticed about your business is the Lee Hughes, thank you for joining us. Bobby Castine, thank you for joining us on the broadcast. One of the things I've noticed about your business and a lot of your counterparts in the category is the venue piece, the wedding piece is much more emphasized now. I mean, and I think maybe part of that has to do with the national attention. Charlottesville, one of the key places to get married. Lynn Easton at Pippin Hill, I heard it's 7 weddings at over $150,000 each.
I don't doubt that at all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't doubt that either. And I bet you that number's low,
Could be.
So
could be,
7 over 150,000 at Pippin Hill in 2018 alone. How is the wedding and the event piece revolutionizing or changing this category?
Well, first of all, without the events, I don't think wineries could really survive. I know we couldn't in Virginia, so it's an essential part of the business. I think most wineries are trying to build up enough acreage and enough sales. I mean, Virginia wines are not. People don't go into restaurants, say in Los Angeles, and say,
Give me a Barbersville White.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They don't do that. So as we establish ourselves as legitimate, good quality wines, which takes a long time, we have to have other sources of revenue, and that's events. And events are, they're a large part of the revenue. They definitely are. And especially in Charlottesville.
Are we now at the point in going into 2019, where the vineyard and the winery is building the brand for Vineyard Winery so they can host 6-figure events and 6-figure weddings?
I don't.
It's still wine first?
I think for us, it's wine first, and I know there's been some criticism from some of the winemakers, old school winemakers, that claim that you can't do both well, and I think we at Keswick have proven that's wrong. We've won enough gold medals in San Francisco and Governor Cups here that we can do both. And Cindy certainly, I mean, she gets 5-star reviews all the time.
Oh, her events are amazing.
Yeah.
Her weddings are amazing.
So I think you can do both. My heart is on the wine and the production side. Cindy's pretty much all wedding, and it works for us.
It reminds me of, guys, and Al's our guest. He's the CEO and owner of Keswick Vineyards, thanks to Greenberry's Coffee. Kevin Graham, thank you for joining us on the show. Spencer Breeden, thanks for joining us as well. If you have a question for Al or myself, put it in the chat box. We're happy to talk about your question. It reminds me of this business model. One of our, someone we work with, Travis Coxton, he owns Rappahannock Oysters, and this is his flagship business. He has opened up restaurants that he owns as well, for instance, Rock Salt in Stonefield. And he told me that my key business is Rappahannock Oysters. Rock Salt, this oyster bar, the seafood place, is our opportunity to showcase what Rappahannock Oysters is about. So it's more a marketing and branding play for the flagship business. Where I'm going with this is, I think with people that don't have talented winemakers like you and can't compete at the top % from a wine standpoint, I think they're eventually going to pivot and change their strategy where the wine is about the brand to secure the six-figure wedding deals.
Well, okay, and we were talking a little bit about the county and its limitations on farm wineries. I'll give you an example where they actually stepped in and helped legitimate wineries. For a while, a few years back, we had what I call faux farm wineries. And
what's that?
Well, I'll tell you what it is. It's when people come in and they build an event building and with no cellar and hire a chef but no winemaker and stick a vine in the ground and call themselves a farm winery so they could take advantage of some of the ordinances that farm wineries have. But they weren't legitimate wineries. And so the county acted and to the benefit of legitimate wineries. And I think the neighbors and the population in general, and they came up with a set of ordinances where you have to have at least a minimum amount of acreage planted under vine. You have to have a cellar. You have to make wine, and then you can do events. And so I thought that was a really good thing, and you have to be a legitimate farm winery to do events now. And I think that was a good thing.
I think it was a good thing because it set some kind of ordinance in there to keep these fly-by-nights from taking away your market share. And a good example of that is kind of like what Airbnb is doing to hotels here in Charlottesville. We have fly-by-nights that are just offering their basement for $200 a night on Airbnb on a key UVA football weekend, and that's eroding the share of the hotels in the area. Same concept with these fly-by-nights, these faux wineries, just saying, hey, we're a tap room, come check us out. Another trend I'm noticing is the tap rooms offering beer.
Yeah.
Meriwether Springs and Ivy Road is turning into almost a sports bar. I mean, they have TVs everywhere. I mean, have you seen it?
No, I have not.
You should check it out on Facebook. It's
I will.
A very interesting concept. TVs everywhere. They have beer and wine, tap, okay? They have huge venue space, kids running around everywhere, food trucks outside.
Yep.
I do not get the feel of when you go to a winery, 10 years ago, it was let me put on my nice shirt, my polo shirt, let me look good. It was an event. We went out on a date, we turned a day out of it. It seems like with millennials and the advent of social media and smartphones and people wanting things right now, that this concept's evolving.
It is, and I think it's in the immediate future that a lot of wineries will also be offering beer. And in fact, we're in negotiations now with a very well known quality beer maker.
You gonna tell us?
We haven't signed the deal.
Give us a little tip here, Al, on the show here. Come on.
They're very, very popular.
Okay.
But
three-notch over there?
Well, geez, you're really good.
Three-notch. Oh, that's genius. Is it three-notch?
Yeah, it is.
Scott Roth and what Dave Warwick and three-notch are doing is fantastic.
Yeah, they're incredible. And so we're in negotiations with them where we will have a special brew made for Keswick. That's awesome. And we'll offer it in our tasting room. And we're also
one brew, one?
No, I think in our case we're going to offer two. Like an ale, a heavier wine.
I think that's
and then
genius.
Something lighter. And in turn, we're going to be serving their wine at their place.
So would you be the exclusive wine provider at Three Notch if this deal goes through?
Yes.
Category exclusivity.
Yes.
Smart. That's smart.
But it's not a done deal yet. So, knock on wood, I hope I didn't just
Scott Roth, this is a good deal for you. Dave Warwick, this is a good deal for you. We have these guys on the show do this deal. This is a good deal, okay? Let me throw this to you, okay? Are you responding to marketplace demand by offering the beer?
Yeah.
I mean, how many guys are coming into your tasting room and saying, can I have a beer, please?
Yeah, no. I mean, they don't, because we don't offer it, but we do know from demographic studies, I think it was like 9 out of 10 men prefer beer over wine, and
I do.
Four
I
out of-
love wine.
four
I
out of
love
five-
wine.
Do you?
Yeah, I do, but I prefer
I
beer
do
over
too.
wine. Yeah.
And 4 out of 5 women prefer wine. So what we're trying to do is provide a place where both can
Trying
come
to turn it
and be
into a
fed.
destination.
Yeah.
An experience.
Yeah.
You want it to be more than, and I can help you with this. You want it to be more than just the guy tags along with the wife to make the wife happy on a Saturday.
Right.
You want the guy to come there and be like, this place is cool.
Yeah.
So then he's a champion for coming back the following weekend.
Exactly.
And I think you can do that. And I think, and to Ed Pierce's credit, Ed Pierce and his family are the family behind Meriwether Springs. And Ed Pierce was a one-time professor at Bridgewater College, the football coach at Western Elmore High School. His sons, Christian and Andy, matriculated through Western, and they live in Ivy. And he bought this land to preserve the area because he's like, if I don't do this, this is going to turn into like
Right.
Ednam again.
Yeah.
Okay, he bought the land, and then he figured out a way to do a business that I think offers value. And I think they're offering that value to that side of town. You're going to be the guy that offers the value to the east side of town.
Yeah.
Because the east side of town is so terribly underserved.
It is.
Do you agree?
I do agree. And, actually, I wish I almost had Michael Shaps convinced to build a winery, a Rougemont, which would be across the street. But that property sold, and he lost control of it. But I would love for more wineries to be out on the east side.
Because what the east side needs is almost like what's happened with 151 with beer, is you guys need an aggregation of a handful of wineries, because all you have, I think, is Castle Hill, yourself, and maybe you off the beaten path a little bit, Barbersville.
Correct.
Yeah.
And Horton. But there's a big, we're far apart.
Because you're basically saying, much like people who go and visit car dealerships all in one area, they want to kill 5 birds with one trip.
Correct. And a neighbor of ours, Paul Manning, down the street,
PBM.
he put in, I think, like 200 acres of vines, but has no intention of putting in a winery. But I would love to see more wineries out of
Why would he put in 200 acres? It's just for personal?
No, I think most of that fruit goes to Veritas.
Oh, okay.
I might be wrong about that.
Well, and he's got the
but,
tax advantage.
Yeah. If you're looking for a good tax write-off and want to lose money, start a vineyard.
I love that about you. You're a good people. You're a cool dude. Let me throw this to you here. Where is the county? Have they embraced you? Have the Board of Supervisors embraced the vineyards and wineries now? I mean, it's a $1 billion industry.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to embarrass you a little bit. A $1 billion industry, and he is one of the pioneers to driving a $1 billion industry to Central Virginia. His family, one of the pioneers to helping weddings in Central Virginia happen. I think Lynn Easton gets credit, because Lynn Easton took it when it was already at a really good level, and Jesus took it to a stratosphere that I didn't even know could exist.
Right.
Seriously.
Right.
So, I mean, are they embracing you now? I mean, you should be on the speed dial of all the Board of Supervisors, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, they have a fine line they have to walk between wineries and also keeping neighbors happy. And I think if the wineries can negotiate terms with their neighbors that make their neighbors happy, then it takes a lot of pressure off the board, and that's what we were able to do with our neighbors.
You're driving real estate values for your neighbors.
I'd like to think so.
I would think Keswick Vineyards, just like Adam Frazier has done in downtown Belmont with the local and with Junction, making Belmont more hotspot, driving real estate values up. You've done the same thing in Keswick.
I would like to think so, but they're fairly large farms, so and they large properties don't move that often, so it's kind of hard to gauge. But yeah, I would like to think so.
I mean, because if you're living on the east side of town, Where are you going for a drink? You might go to the bar at the Clifton for a drink.
That was one of my favorite
Yeah,
places.
I like the bar at the Clifton. Yeah. You might go, if you're a member, to the clubhouse at Glenmore, maybe. You're probably going down the hill for a lively entertainment at the Lazy Parrot Grill. Okay, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
Where are you going for a drink? You're tasting. I mean, where do you go?
It's well, first of all, I mean, you know, our daughters have commitments to dance and things. We don't have a lot of free time.
Right.
In fact, Cindy and I, we used to call going down to the county building for these hearings with the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors. That was our date night. But
I love it.
With the commitment to the weddings during the spring, summer, and fall, and then the commitment to dance and competitive dancing is like I guess like
it's hardcore, right?
It's a big commitment.
Right.
I guess it would be like being a soccer mom, or if you were in Michigan, being a hockey mom, and so that takes a lot of time.
Kat Schornberg on the broadcast. Kat Schornberg, Barnard.
Yes.
Okay, got it right there. I got it right there. Lauren Linsky, my wife, thank you for joining us. Josh Elwood, Ronnie, thank you for joining us. We're talking with Al, the CEO and owner of Keswick Vineyards. We're talking about the entrepreneurial journey, the trials and tribulations of being a vineyard owner here in Charlottesville and Central Virginia. How about the post-812? We talked about this off air, and I asked this question. The great thing about what I do is I feel like this is almost like confessional for entrepreneurs, okay? As an owner of an advertising agency, I hear every day at 4 or 5 meetings a day, I'm hearing the good and the bad and the ugly. It's like, Jerry, you gotta go get me from small cap to mid cap. I need to go from mid cap to large cap. Jerry, I'm launching my business, take me to market. Where I'm going with this is this. Your vineyard is got the taste of 18 years behind it. The area completely knows the brand and supports the brand. You, I think, are a great baseline for this question. Pre-A12 and post-A12. How has August 12, 2017 impacted an 18-year-old business?
Well, honestly, we see a lot fewer visitors from out of state than we did prior. You come to Charlottesville, you start a business, and the last thing in the world you would expect is something like August 17th. And it seems to be on the news. And it was just on the news again, national news, with the trial.
It's constantly on the news. The
always
national
on the
news
news.
is manipulating the story to drive news cycle, clicks, views, whatever it is.
And
do you agree?
Yeah, I do. And it's always in a people don't know that the people that caused all the problems
aren't from Charlottesville.
Yeah, and so it's kind of a negative thing. It's going to take time. It's going to take time for us to work through it and be able to show Charlottesville for what it really is.
So the loss in business you've seen has not been from locals, it's been from out-of-towners coming to Charlottesville?
Yes, the locals have been very supportive. In fact, yeah, the whole business model has changed. They've, instead of tasters coming in from out of state, we have people that don't want to bother with the tasting, and they'll just buy a bottle of wine and some cheese and whatever, and go sit it on the table and have, spend the afternoon together. So it's changed. It's changed things.
You are a well-respected and influential leader in our community. Safe to say. That is a fact. That's safe to say. Do you feel it's part of your responsibility as an influential leader in our community to change the conversation, to rebrand the stigma? Because I own a business called I Love CVille.
Right.
I mean, my entire concept is based on Charlottesville being a positive and vibrant town.
Yeah. I mean, what has it had an impact on your business?
We talked about this off air. Interestingly, as the owner of an advertising agency, when you are in a time of hardship or strife like we are in, that generally stimulates the business model because entrepreneurs and business owners like yourself come to me looking for ideas to change the conversation. Where my business model, advertising agency, and my second business, the real estate investment, where that really struggles is when the stock market's in the crapper.
Yeah.
When people don't think that their investments are performing well, they tighten back on disposable income, and the first thing that entrepreneurs and business owners cut is advertising.
Yeah, because it can be soft and it's hard to quantify.
When interestingly, as a business owner, at a downtime, and this is not just me saying this for people to work with me, but in a downtime, that's when you should be spending more on advertising because your competitors are not. So in a downtime, you double down on your ad dollars to gain more market share and steal it from your competitors. But that's a topic for a different day. I'm going to throw it back to you. As a business owner, and Scott, thank you for joining us. Lauren, thank you for joining us. As a business owner and leader, do you feel compelled that you should help change the conversation of Charlottesville and Central Virginia?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And there was a film made, I guess it's really from 2014, that really talks up Charlottesville, and I thought they did a great job. And so, I post that on Facebook and social media and try and get it out there because Charlottesville really is a wonderful place to live and do business.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah.
Really?
Obviously. So, so it's August 17th was unfortunate. I think the way the city handled it was unfortunate. They could have done a better job. I almost feel like they wanted confrontation to take place. But the news, the national media hammering it day after month, and now years.
Find a new story.
Yeah.
Do you feel confidence in this is the toughest question I'm going to ask you here. You are a man that's experienced and worked at very different levels of business. Okay. Do you feel confident that our city councilors and our board of supervisors, the people we have in place, are the right people to lead and dictate the future of Charlottesville? Because I do not, Al, on city council, there's not a businessman on it.
I don't find
one businessman on city council.
On Charlottesville, I would have to agree with you. I think their council is more
social justice.
Well, exactly.
And I have no problem with social justice.
Exactly, but that's their entire focus, and so it makes doing business in the city hard. Albemarle, not so much. Albemarle, I think. They have a more practical outlook and a little more balanced, I think. So I think there's a big difference between the two.
I think I agree with that. Why does council and city get so much more props, attention, spotlight, media coverage than essentially their counterparts in the county? Because the board of supervisors in the county are actually providing more empirical value than the city councilors in Charlottesville. I'm not marginalizing the city councilors in Charlottesville. They do not run the city. The city manager does. The board of supervisors in the county, they are running the county. So they offer more tangible value and work.
I was thinking of that earlier today, and I think the reason that like the people on the Charlottesville City Council get so much more attention is the media. I mean, the media loves these hardliners because it's an issue, and I really think the media, and I'm not including you when I say this, but I think they're creating a lot of the division in this country. They pay a lot of attention to the hardliners on the right and the hardliners on the left, and it's us moderates in the middle. And I think the Albemarle City Council's more of a moderate board than Charlottesville, and so you're able to get some things done. You're able to compromise. You can't get everything you want, but you can compromise and make things happen.
Have you considered running at all?
No.
You would never do it?
No.
Not a chance?
No way I could pass the scrutiny that they put people through now.
The scrutiny or the dysfunction, or both?
Yeah, I mean, thank God when I was in high school, they didn't have
Social media?
phones
Yeah.
and video cameras and stuff because it'd be horrible. But no, I would never consider running.
Let me throw, and guys, he's killed it today. We've gone 45 minutes. It feels like it's been 5 minutes. You have Tim Morris, thank you for joining us. Caitlin, Michelle Lewis, thank you for joining us. Zach, thank you for joining us. If you have any questions for Al, we're happy to take them. Constance has said you've done a great job right now. Mary Ann Clemente, interesting show. Anja gave you a thumbs up. Constance said exactly to you and your thoughts right there, so you're getting some props. I'm going to close with a couple questions. Some of them we ask every single person.
Okay.
Before we do, I want to ask maybe some fun things. When you and your family, you and Cindy, you and Cindy are going date night. and you're not doing date night because you're not fighting something at the county office building to get with the board of supervisors. This is a legitimate, Al is wooing Cindy, rolling out the red carpet and taking her out for somewhere special. Break down what you guys are doing.
We would find, I mean, there's so many options here especially in downtown Charlottesville, restaurants and places to go that, I mean, we'll, whatever we're in the mood for. There's no place that we go back to constantly because there's so many different places to experience. But we'll find.
You don't have a favorite? You gotta have a favorite.
I mean, I think the Clifton Inn was our favorite for a very long time.
Changed ownership.
Changed ownership.
What do you think of the new owners?
I really since the tragedy there, I really haven't. Well, I think I was back once. So I really don't know.
What was the tragedy there? Can I ask?
It was the fire. It was, and I believe someone lost their life in that fire a few years ago.
Was it Guess?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so they closed down for a while, and we stopped going.
It's now a private equity group I've met with them.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, a private equity group out of D.C. They also have Canadian ties. A brother and two brothers are calling the shots, and they also have some private equity from one of the big-time families in Richmond.
Okay.
And they're trying to turn it into like a boutique hotel that does wedding events, essentially kind of like what Cork is in Richmond, but on the east side of town. I think it's a challenging endeavor. And why I think it's a challenging endeavor is it's a competitive category. And on top of that, oftentimes when people are looking to stay in the area, they want to stay around the downtown. And Clifton's a little tucked out there. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, that's probably true. And that's one of the reasons probably Cindy and I visited it so much is it was close to us.
Yeah.
And we really liked the atmosphere, and we liked the food and the wine, and we just always had a great time there. But we like to come into town, too, because there's so many different things going on here. And, if you stay away for a while and
it's
come
completely
back,
different.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. My son Brian spends a lot of time down here, so he'll give us a heads up of where to go. I mean, I guess down here probably my favorite is the Alley Light.
You have good taste. Alley Light is good. Robin McDaniel, the executive chef and owner, she's great.
Yeah, I love the atmosphere there. So
yeah, and what do you like the craft cocktails?
Yeah, well, actually, I'm a wine drinker.
100% of the time.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, no, sometimes beer, to be honest.
Are you, when you're drinking the wine, are you comparing it and contrasting it to your wines?
Yes.
Yeah.
To be honest, I'm not. I'm working, and of course they have a lot of Virginia wines there. So yeah, I'm working.
Is there a competitor of yours that's standing out? Someone that's making wine or has an experience or some kind of thing with their vineyard, their winery, their model that you're like, wow, this guy's doing something good. This lady's doing something good.
Yeah, I like a lot of the wines that Matthew or Mathieu, as you would say in French, does for King's Family.
Okay.
At Barbersville, their Octagon I think is great. In Veritas, I like some of their lighter white wines that they make. What we specialize in at Keswick really are the Cabernets, and we're the only ones that really do make Cabernet Sauvignon because we have the dirt where we can do it, where I think most people don't. The clay holds a lot more water, so they can't get the grapes ripe. I can't really compare our Cabernet Sauvignon to other wineries, but Cabernet Franc is a very popular wine in Virginia, and almost all the wineries make it. And so that's the wine I really I focus on and try and compare their style to our style.
How do you think Pippin Hill and Lynn Easton have impacted Central Virginia and vineyards and wineries?
If I'm correct, I may not be right here, but I believe Michael Shaps makes their wine at Wineworks, and Michael Shaps helped get us started at Keswick. So I haven't had a lot of their wines, but knowing Michael, I'm sure they're good.
Okay. Let me throw this to you here. How about, do you ever wake up and say, if we got this in the chat box as well here, wake up and you're like, I don't know, freaking vineyard. I mean, Al, do you know how many people, and I'm sure you do you know how many people want to say they own a vineyard? And a vineyard as pretty as yours, and I know what you're going to say here. You may say you want to own a vineyard, and then it comes to actually running and doing the vineyard, and you're not going to want to own a vineyard. He's going to downplay it. You own one of the sickest, prettiest, nicest, coolest, most gorgeous vineyards on the East Coast.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate the compliment, but
It's true.
no, usually I wake up and I'm thinking about what we could do better, and maybe too much, too much as far as
Your son's on the box right now saying, it's hard work, Cheri. Thank you, Brian, for that.
Well, Brian is a very hard worker and
I know he
does
is.
a number
He's a
of
smart
things.
guy.
He's a very smart guy.
Yeah.
He's very talented. And fortunately and unfortunately, he started a video production company called Black Squirrel. And he's very good at what he does, but the more successful and I want him to be successful, but the more successful he is, the less I'm going to have him available to us. So if there's anybody out there that is looking for a really good job and is really good, you might want to give us your resume.
There you go. Al's recruiting, guys. Good family to work for here. Final couple questions here. Charlottesville, Virginia. How long have you been here, since 2000?
2000, correct.
I asked the question to everybody. You've been here 18 years, almost 19 years. Is it better now than it was when you first got here?
Oh, now specifically for wineries or in general?
Both.
Okay.
And both sides.
For wineries, definitely. I mean, like I said earlier when we started, you could have 12 events. You could have a 1,500 square foot tasting room. They didn't really want you here. They didn't want you here. And then the Board of Supervisors, changed and decided, hey, we don't want to make this a museum. We want to make it a functional place. And so it's gotten a lot better for wineries that way. In general, yes, I think it is a lot better. There's a lot more variety here. There's a lot more things to do. My only complaint would be, as we spoke about earlier, is the infrastructure. We've got to do a better job of that. We've got to be able to get people from the east side to the west side, from downtown to both sides, that whole thing.
Well, shockingly, an accident at Boyd Tavern on 64 can shut down the entire east side of town.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've had...
How do you fix that problem? I mean, I think the only way you could fix it would be to make the road going up Pantops Mountain wider. How do you fix it?
I don't know. I mean, maybe in some cases, mass transit, more roads, definitely. I've had employees that lived on the west side and have moved to the east side because they can't put up with the commute anymore, and that's a shame. We need to do a better job there.
Ray Cadell says, great guest, great interview. Al, you killed it. He also suggests a bypass that could potentially connect various sides of town. A bypass could be a good idea. The only problem, and Ray, I think it's a great idea. The only problem is like, how hard was it just to get the freaking 29 connector?
I know.
Whatever it was. It's just a nightmare.
I know. But they shot down the whole idea of a bypass a couple of years ago, and that's a shame because I think it would help a lot. But speaking of Ray,
he has good things to say about you.
He's a fantastic musician, and I saw him. I'm a Michigan guy, basically a Detroit Motown guy, and when he backed up the Temptations, I don't know. I can't remember if it was the Jefferson or the Parliament, but
do you remember Ray? Ray's listening.
It was a great show. I enjoyed that.
He has a lot of energy, and I appreciate his entrepreneurial spirit. Really what it comes down to, what I'm just trying to do with the show, is to showcase entrepreneurialism, because I think that, and I want to spitball with you and we'll wind down, you crushed it today. You really did. Final 5 minutes here. I think that Charlottesville and America is only as strong as its middle class, and if we showcase how our middle class is like building these dynamite and fantastic businesses and creating jobs and driving GDP and driving just freaking love and support for our community, then we are going to do good for Charlottesville. I mean, we have to showcase our middle class. That's the whole premise of what I'm trying to do. We have to showcase our business owners that are creating jobs and are willing to take a chance. I took in 2008 my entire life savings, which was $32,000 at the time, in 2008, and I put it into this business. My parents, I was at that time making a little over 6 figures, mid-20s, had a great job. And I said, I don't want to work for anybody else. I can't work for anybody else. Some people can't. And my parents came up to Charlottesville from Williamsburg, Virginia. My dad's a CPA. He's an entrepreneur himself, and he said to me, he begged me, he said, Jerry, do not do this. You have no idea how hard it is to start your own business. 80% of small businesses fail in the first 3 years. Gave me every reason not to do it. And then when we did it, he supported me. In the first 6 months, I had to go to the Panna Garden buffet with Ziploc bags and take $4.95 lunch buffet and put it into Ziploc bags and take it home so I could eat it for 2 days and give it to my dog for 2 days because money was that tight.
Yeah.
But then it just started clicking.
Yeah.
And then I did well by one person, and that person told somebody else, that person told somebody. So where I'm going with this is I think that if you and I, if we can just showcase these stories, we could change the conversation in Charlottesville from being this national 812 thing to being like, Charlottesville is a mecca for entrepreneurialism in Virginia.
Yeah, exactly. And we have a similar background. And when I started my tech company, it was during a recession. And
Which recession was that?
It was the Reagan one in 80.
So you had like 19% interest rates.
Yeah. And took out a second mortgage.
On your house?
On my house.
Yeah.
And that was payroll. And there was only one credit card company that would work with me back then, so I've been loyal to them ever since, and that's American Express. Little plug for them. And I've been with them ever since, so I think I'm one of their longest living members. But yeah, I think if we can showcase the different new businesses starting here, there's some great tech companies starting here.
Great tech companies. What Joffrey Woodruff is doing, I mean, Joffrey Woodruff from QIM, who just bought the Ice Park, and turning that into a tech center and an incubator. Yeah. I mean, this is the type of stuff that, frankly, Al, the national news and the regional news and the Washington Post should be celebrating.
They should, and I don't know how we get them to do that, but I guess we just have to keep plugging away until we become so great.
Yeah, doing this. You killed it.
Thank you.
I'm so grateful. And he brought us a gift. Can I open this?
You can.
He brought us a gift, guys. I'm so grateful for this. This must be Cindy's wrapping right here. Is this Al's wrapping or Cindy's wrapping?
No, that's Cindy.
Okay, thank you, Cindy. Thank you, too, Al. Thank you, Brian. What do we got in here? Ooh, you got some serious stuffed wrapping paper in here. I like this, Cindy. Tell me what we got right here, Al.
That's the 2016 Cabernet Franc, the Governor's Cup winner.
Governor's Cup winner. And look, Liza's making let's go on the 2-shot and get Liza on the broadcast right there. Shop Dog Liza making the broadcast. You know you're a small business when you got your Shop Dog getting on the broadcast.
And she's got a good nose, by the way.
She's got a great nose. You made us look so much better today. I'm truly grateful for your time.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. He came, guys, on a snow day, and it shows the kind of character and the kind of man he is. Go visit Keswick Vineyards. Support local businesses. And Charlottesville, as always, please be good to each other. We will see you tomorrow at 12:30 with Tiffany Smith, the owner and the entrepreneur behind the Virginia shop, to discuss her entrepreneurial journey here on the I Love CVille show.
Thank you. Thank you.
I mean, we literally started an hour, and I felt like it was like 10
It went by, it went by fast.
Are you okay with dogs?
Oh, yeah. I have 5.
You have 5 dogs?
Yeah.
You have German Shepherds, right?
I have a German Shepherd that's a year and 9 months old, so still a puppy mentally. We've got a rescue dog. I'm not